Sorry, guys, it's extra slow tonight. Right. I don't know if anyone had a chance to take a glance at some of these. Everyone have a chance to have a glance at some of these? So just to go through a couple of these, and I'm fascinated by them because mostly just the names. I'm fascinated by them because when we look at, oh my goodness me, why would it do that? Okay, so it really is irritating. NVIDIA. Okay, so let's hope it doesn't do the same thing. You are kidding me. Okay, so it shouldn't do that anymore. Oh my gosh, I should have checked this, guys. Why is it doing that now? I
Hey
should have.
Doc, so if you take a second, actually, it says that you've reached your article limit. So I think there is only like one article per time on the site you're allowed to read,
Oh
and each
my
of those,
word.
yeah.
And I think I obviously looked at them today. What was fascinating for me, and I'm not going to attempt to go through all of these. What was fascinating for me with the ones I saw. Now, I must admit I saw a couple of these. So I don't know how many times I've looked at it because I think I looked at it this when I did the development for the assignments as well and the exam. But what I was fascinated about is how each of these elements here, let me just get to that point, how each of these elements here seemed relevant to what those organizations have. And I realize that this textbook is a little bit dated. And to be honest with you, we've struggled to find a replacement for it. But when we look at some of the content and some of the realities of modern organizations that are innovative, there are a couple of things that they share. So each of those on the list there definitely shared this powerful vision. Now, in terms of that vision, remember, created by leadership, also important in terms of communicated by leadership, but there has to be an intention to innovate. There has to be a sense of us wanting to make a difference. And my apologies if I've used this example before, and it is such an old example, and I've got to find a better example, but I can't. Google, when they were ahead of the game in 2000, early 2000s, they had as their vision life. No, let me try that again. Voice goes mobile. Now, remember, at some point, Google had 42% of the market share in the cell phone market, and no one's ever come near that ever again. But they had the idea in the early 2000s of voice goes mobile. When they reached the voice goes mobile, their next in a vision became life goes mobile. And when I think of a powerful vision for the mid 2000s, and I know that most of you would have been incredibly young if you were even born, the mid 2000s, the idea of life goes mobile. It is such a wonderful example of how a vision has become a reality in terms of what a smart device has become for us. So it starts with this powerful, overarching, ambitious. We refer to these types of goals as being both inspirational and aspirational. It should inspire people to aspire to be fantastic. And I think it is also important that management walk the talk in terms of this. Now, I don't know if I've asked this question in this class before, and if I have, my apologies. Those of you that have a job, and I think it's most of you, what is your company's vision without cheating? Without cheating, what is your company's vision? So you're not going to go look it up and then type it in here. Because if we know how important a vision is, every single person in the organization needs to know what their organization's vision is. And often when you have, okay, wonderful, Sarah, how quickly that came to you, that was very good. Anyone else?
Doc,
Yes,
Doc, you've
go
you've
for
asked,
it.
hi everyone, you've asked this question last time, and
And no one got out to check.
I did give you an answer. That's why I've been quiet.
Okay.
Yeah,
And I did ask it last time. My apologies for that. But it's quite scary that despite being asked it previously, only two people know their vision.
I think you're right, Doc. If I may say something,
Yeah, and Mondi, I do remember you giving me your
yeah,
vision. I do remember this.
my research topic is around looking at exploring the potential of technology as a mode of cascading strategy. But strange enough, not just at this level or in this class when it comes to knowing the company vision. In some instances, a lot of companies, their executives don't know the vision. If they have like big structures, like for instance, I'm going to say the company that I worked for before, I'm not going to say their name. When you go to regional manager level, more operations in functional areas, a lot of management people didn't even know what the vision was.
And
Pause
the
there, Doc.
reality is, whenever you get these kind of ISO assessments, one of the things they ask you is write the vision because you have to know the vision and mission statement. It is disturbing, and you're right, Mondley. I don't think it's a uniqueness or an anomaly that company was. I think people don't know what the vision is. And I think for me, it's this term here, that stretching thing. It's the kind of thing, imagine being a coder or a marketer mid 2000s working for Nokia. You knew what exactly you had to do. That's also interesting because those are very, very close. So often, in terms of the difference between a vision and a mission, I think you guys know that is that the mission becomes the purpose. So your vision is almost written as a purpose, and the mission statement does the same thing. But it's very close to each other, hey? Very, very close to each other. Guys, the second one is the idea of the appropriate structure. So the term that we look at is, and I don't see it here, but it's the idea of the so-called chaotic structure. Anyone come across that term previously, the chaotic structure? What does chaotic suggest? And if we had a newer version of this textbook, not that it exists, they would have used this term here, chaotic. It's that magic combination of chaos and order. So modern organizations that do incredibly well have these seemingly interconnected, loose and tight bits in terms of the structure. Loose where people are empowered, where people are allowed to create their magic, but also some sort of control that it's not just, and you can see here this idea of the skunk works. Anyone know where the term skunk works comes from? Anyone know where skunk works comes from? Um, I don't know if anyone had ever seen this. The Mercedes Skunk Works. It's this, and I don't think it still exists. Um, but it's the idea that you let a bunch of crazy engineers have full freedom to create the Mercedes black versions or the black versions of the Mercedes that essentially where you try and push the limits in terms of speed, in terms of performance, in terms of what is the potential from your vehicles. And that's when you get things like this. The Skunk Works, guys. Everyone has the Skunk Works division, and the Skunk Works division it's almost illicit. It's almost that it's after hours, you just give people the freedom to go completely insane. And in terms of the skunk works notion, some of the Mercedes that have come out of it, and it's this one here, and I'm not going to try and play it because it will have a problem. I don't know. Hold on a second, guys. Just give me a second. I'll share it with you guys to look at. So skunkworks is where there are only loose connections, where there is no control. It is go crazy, see what you can do, and be as wild as you possibly can be. Um, what are some of the advantages of the skunk works notion? And remember, it's the chaos in the chaotic idea. Lots of autonomy, lots of freedom, lots of ability to think out of the box where you are not constrained by company image, where you're not constrained by company budgets, where you're not constrained by the culture within the organization. It is, if we had to use a comparison, the Wild West. It really is the Wild West of organizations. Does anyone have that kind of thing in their organization? Please just give me a second again. Anyone have that kind of division where, in deep, dark basements, people are given freedom to go completely insane with creativity and with budgets and with innovation? Yeah, I don't think many of us in South Africa would be given that privilege. So the idea in terms of the so-called um, appropriate structure, it's this structure, and we talk about a horizontal structure that, first of all, sees no difference between the different functional areas. So you seamlessly move between marketing and operations, and sometimes you don't know where marketing starts and where operations start. Yeah, I think this is the kind of stuff where you're given freedom. They don't care if you go in there with alcohol. They don't care if you go and activate parts of your brain that you normally would, but it's about creativity. But that's a nice example, though, Sarah. And then, guys, I think it is this balance between the organic, the freedom, the empowered, the handing over the ability and the reins to people to create, and then that mechanistic, that we still have some order. Go for it, Sarah. You had your hand up.
Hi, Doc.
Hi.
I think also part of what I do in the department is generate alternative ways to make income for the business. And so when we go to them with certain ideas and certain plans, for example, let's say you want to put up a digital billboard somewhere on one of the properties. So we would say, if you want a certain amount of income from us, you have leeway in the sense of we'll give you a capex document to sign, we'll motivate you why this document needs to be signed, why we need this certain amount of money, and then you'll see the ROI on your side. So it's a lot
Well,
of
that's
that type
impressive,
of
though.
aspect.
But that's impressive because there are not many organizations that do that, Sarah. I mean, that's proper entrepreneurship, but entrepreneurship with a bit of spice. I
For
don't know
sure.
whether that's a fair comment.
No, I definitely think so. It's something where the business comes to you and they say, listen, we need this much more in this portfolio, or we need this much more in this building. And we'll say, okay, we'll go through relevant processes, we'll see what we can do on the property. And then when we come to them and we say, listen, we need to have more promotions, more promotional activations, we need to have more kiosks in the space, we need to have more digital advertising, then it becomes a conversation of, okay, how can we help you do this? And then we'll say we need, for example, 1.2 million or 2.1 million, and we say, okay, this is what it breaks down into. Your LED screen is going to cost this much, your service level agreement is going to cost this much, and then put it all together in a document. You show them in your first year, this is how much yield you'll be making, this is your percentage ROI, and then, you know, ask them to sign the document from there. So it's a fair comment when it comes to entrepreneurship with a spice, because it's not, I always tell people every day is not the same. No 2 days are the same.
That's wonderful. Who works in an organization that would mirror that kind of behavior, where you are given real freedom to innovate, to come up with innovation ideas, with improvement ideas? Who works in an organization opposite to that, where you're constrained and you feel that your creativity is stifled? Who doesn't understand English and what I'm saying? Because I'm sorry, that's sarcasm. I shouldn't do that.
Doc, it's Monley. So I think for us, because we are more of a corporate company, so the chances of freedom are very minimal, especially in retail. So it's more structured and a lot of rules, and then there's less creativity. The creativity that you may get is only if you are in a marketing department or a little bit in operations.
One
I'll
thing,
pause here,
and
Doc.
yeah, and please forgive me if we've had this discussion before, but whose job perfectly mirrors what was in the advert? Because often when we look at advertisements, they picture utopia. And when you get there, it is, yeah, a sewage farm with old technology. Because jobs are written as adverts in order to attract really hotshot people whose job isn't near what they thought they were getting when they joined the organization. Go for it, Ipoleng. So your job is not what you thought it would be.
Well, yes, it's not because when I joined, we co-own a business with my partner. So in that space, you have to wear a lot of hats.
Yeah.
The chaotic structure will apply more to us in the sense of opportunities. If we meet a client, they have a problem, then we go out to the market and find innovation in the security field that will help
Okay.
address those problems.
Okay.
So
Very, very cool.
yeah. Okay.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you. Guys, so the third bit that we see in terms of what makes a perfectly successful, innovative organization are those key individuals. And please remember, it's not just the one. It's not Steve Jobs and what Steve Jobs was to Apple. It is the expectation that you will have multiple people innovating, suggesting, improving, wanting to come up with radical ideas, often radical ideas that will rewrite the rules of the game. And remember, part of these kinds of organizations is that on a daily basis, you question what you're doing. You question whether there should be changes. You question the status quo. You question the paradigm. So, in terms of those key individuals, you can see a couple of people. The first one would be the promoters. Now, the promoters are those individuals that create that environment where people can be innovative and come up with new ideas. The champions are those individuals that, if there is an innovation, will take the ball and help you run with it. And then the gatekeepers. The gatekeepers' role is an interesting one because sometimes we also have to be realistic what an organization can do. So the gatekeepers will often say, guys, yeah, no, this is risky. This might expose us to risks that we don't want to. But I think it's about energy and it's about creating new innovations. And then working in a team, I think for me, it's that idea that you work part of cross-functional teams. And then on top of that is that you make sure that you have perfect teams. And again, my apologies if you've seen this. I lecture so many lectures. Have I discussed the Bellman's model? Looks like I might have done it here. Bellman's team roles. Have we spoken about this? So this is heck of a interesting, and I was part of a process to determine what my role is. So what the team roles say is that you need to have certain individuals who will perform certain roles, and these roles are often come from innate abilities. So it's almost these people are naturally inclined to do certain things. And they say that, and this is very powerful and it's very accurate. They say that for you to be successful, you need these 9 roles that need to be implemented. Now, I'm going to go in reverse order. No, I want to go in middle and then bottom and top. The suggestion is that every ideal team, guys, and you have to pay attention to this. This is a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful way of setting up ideal teams. So in terms of the Bellman team roles, the plant is that creative person, that right brain thinker, that person that's imaginative, that will come up with solutions and make suggestions and innately is somebody who looks at the world very differently. What you'll allow is this idea that this person might be great in vision and ideas and new, but sometimes will not be able to share it. And then just also it's the person who's absent-minded and forgetful because they live in a dream world. They live in a world that has yet to be created. Anyone fit that definition of a plant? That just you are right brain thinking, you're full of ideas. Sometimes these ideas disappear and you don't know how to follow through on them. Neil, very cool, very, very cool. I worked with a guy who, he was the CEO, bad at admin. Welcome to my world, Georgia. Welcome to my world. I worked with a guy who kept telling everyone he was an ideas man. The problem was his ideas were so, I can't say that word while I'm being recorded, but they were so not good. Apparently, I can't say crap on when I'm being recorded, but his ideas were very, very bad. So I don't know how he considered himself an ideas man. And don't worry, I'm not going to go edit that out. Exactly, Georgia. That's what we have. Um, well, oh, flipping hell. Neil, yeah, I'm often told I'm a vegetable, so maybe that is a form of a plant. Moving along, moving along. The second one is monitor evaluator. So as much as this guy has ludicrous and this person is ludicrous out there ideas, this is the sober person. This is the person that can look up, weigh up, decide based on the strengths, the weaknesses, the dangers, the opportunities around a particular idea, whether they can work it. This is the sober person. It's the person that will check and recheck and evaluate. And it is. I mean, he's strategic. He's. I don't know why I'm keeping saying he. can I just say how rude it was? I came from a team of only men, and that's why I possibly am saying he. And I think we'll look at options and judge accurately. I think here the thing is this person is often seen as the wet blanket. That, oh, here we go again. He's going to throw a wet blanket over our ideas. And then, unfortunately, will spend time weighing up and could be slow in decisions. Who here is the monetary evaluator? This is a hell of an important role because it prevents the plant from going completely insane. Who is the monitor evaluator here? If you're an accountant, you're a monitor evaluator. You don't seem to, you won't have a choice. Or if you work in finance, you're a monitor evaluator. No monitor evaluators here. Oh my goodness me. Right. And then you need a specialist. So this is a person that brings a lot of in-depth knowledge. And the truth is, this person is dedicated to their craft. This person spends time understanding and improving their skill set around certain things. They are there to provide the specialist knowledge. So the insane plant will come up with insane ideas where the specialist will say, well, based on current technologies, this is what we can do. Then yeah, you'll see they refer to these as the task roles. So these are the thinking roles. To just say, I was none of those. Okay. For the record, I was none of those. These are the task roles. This is the person that cracks the whip, that challenging, dynamic, loves pressure, drives, encourage, will sometimes lose his mind with people as well. Oh, and very good at offending people's feelings. Can I just say, guys, I was rated a shaper off the scale. Everyone told me that I was a shaper, and I always thought I was such a gentle person. If you believe that, you'll believe anything. It is possible, but you will. So when you do the analysis, when you do the questionnaire, you will see which of these best suits a person. But what you will find is that each person will have one of these roles that will be the person's predominant role. But it is absolutely possible to have a personality for a number, but there are some of those. Oh, and then, yeah, so apparently, um, yeah, so this one, I don't know. I can't ever imagine becoming aggressive. I was rated this off the scale, but that was a different person. It was 20 years ago, and yeah, I've become incredibly soft. Ipoleng, that's absolutely fine. The implementer is the person that will, once the ideas are done, this is the person that would put the nuts and bolts in place. So this is the person that will actually make this idea happen. And it's interesting, practical, reliable, efficient, just will work until it happens. Um, Unfortunately, inflexible, and then sometimes because they're so busy implementing other stuff, don't like the new idea of new tech possibilities. And then completer finisher, these are important people. These are the guys that will dot the I's and cross the T's. These are the people that will check that everything's been done. Unfortunately, they are paranoid, they're anxious, but they want perfection. They are the individuals that will make sure that whatever hits a shelf somewhere is as perfect as it potentially could be. The roles that I am very weak at, resource investigator is the kind of individual that will go and steal other people's ideas. So this is the networking kind of person that'll be out there talking, exploring opportunities. Also, they have so many people that they're connecting with that they sometimes will not. Monley, are you a strict perfectionist? Interesting. And then the team worker, I think we love team workers. These are those individuals that are cheerleaders. They are there. Whatever you want them to do, they will jump in, they will cooperate, they will see when people are down, they'll pick them up, they're diplomatic. I think sometimes a bit indecisive, and then also because they want to keep everyone happy, they will stay away from unpopular decisions. The coordinator is essentially the person that pulls each of the person's roles together, mature, confident, understands talent, makes sure that we have talent in the right place. And then, yeah, sometimes can be seen as manipulative because you've got to make people work. Okay. No, thanks. Yes, perfect. That's 100% right, Monley. So, guys, if we look at those, can I just see, honestly, resource investigators, who are the networkers here? Very good at networking, being out there, contacting, connecting, having friends in a lot of places. Not a single net resource in. You know what a bad team we would be, guys? If we were stuck together as a team, we would be in serious trouble. Who's good at teamwork? Who are the good team workers? Colin, you put your hand up there. Very good at teamwork. Who are the coordinators? Mondley, go for it. Also a team worker? Yeah.
No, Doc, I was just saying I'm a team worker.
Okay. Yeah. So not very good with that stuff on my side, guys. And who is the coordinator? Knows how to pull people together, making sure that we have the right people in the right place with the right equipment to make magic happen. These are our proper, what we would define as managers, guys, the management type individuals. Nice, Georgia. Yeah, very, very cool. I think Deirdre, I don't know if Deirdre is here, but Deirdre fits that role incredibly well. Ipaleng, team worker coordinator, very, very nice. Guys, and then plant the ideas people. The ideas people, and then the others there as well. But if you have an organization and you look for the ideal team, you get a consultant, and I'm the wrong person because I'm not trained in it. You get someone to come in to do a Balbin's teamwork for you. And I promise you, I absolutely promise you that you will end up in a situation that you'll have this team that really buzzes. Okay. Any comments about that, Balbin? Any general comments? Why is everyone so quiet tonight? Okay, guys, and then just the idea of high involvement. I think this idea that people are constantly part of some sort of innovation suggestion process, to also just say part of that is to, in people's KPIs, include the need to innovate, the need to contribute to innovation. Guys, and then a creative climate. And for me, that's part of your organizational culture. Remember, the difference between organizational climate and organizational culture is organizational culture is the way we do things around here. Oh, I'd love to see that, Georgia. Please do that. Maybe share the link. It'll be interesting to see what people are. In terms of the creative climate, I think it is the difference between climate and culture. Culture is the way we do things around here. Climate is how an individual experiences the organization's culture. Guys, and then just the external focus. I think, first of all, realizing that you have both internal customers and external customers. And what was interesting about the notion of internal and external customers, and a lot of people have started thinking like this, but it's not the default setting. The modern approach to this is that it gives me a wonderful opportunity to be Picasso again. Oh, I get so excited during these moments. And the idea of external customers is very, very simple. I think we all know who our external customers are. they are the people that would ultimately consume our products and services. In terms of internal customers, what is interesting is that if you're on a production line, your internal customer is the next person on the production line. If you're an admin, your internal customer would be anyone who needs stuff from you. So it changes the view of the organization, because generally we think of customers as only being external. But an internal customer are those people we interact with and that benefit from our operations, that we rely on and they rely on us. And then innovation leadership. I think the simple truth is, when we think of Steve Jobs, and remember, this is Tim, what's Tim's surname? The current CEO of Microsoft, of Apple. Tim Cook, thank you, Neil, for that. I think for me, the most innovative people, or for me, the most innovative person in the world ever has been Steve Jobs. Is that a fair comment? Was that just me stretching a bit? I agree with you. Yeah. Who is that? Who is that? Beleng?
The CEO of NVIDIA. The new
NVIDIA.
computer
Okay.
that they built. Yes, I think that is
Very, very
extraordinary.
cool.
Yeah.
Okay, very, very cool. Have a glance at what this man created, guys. You know, so the first person to take us off mainframe, basically killing IBM's domination of computers, and him and Steve Jobs. Sorry, let me try again. Steve Wozniak building the first standalone computer in Jobs' garage, parents' garage. We had the iPod, and then from there, iTunes, smartphones, tablets, a range of other things. My favorite is this one. Can I tell you how incredibly despondent I was during the week before, when I had asked a class of my students who had seen Toy Story, do you think it's possible that people could not have seen Toy Story? Yeah, no, absolutely, Neil. Is it possible for someone not to have seen Toy Story if you lived on this planet your entire life? Sure. But these are kids that are 20, 21 years old. Honestly, if your children haven't seen Toy Story or Shrek, you're a bad parent. Is that a bad thing to say? Georgia J, go for it. Maybe if you
It's
lived in the
actually
Amazon.
it's actually quite a big topic that I was thinking about in completing this form for Rebstock. Just how much 5 years, because what you're talking about is kids that are in their 20s or 21. I'm 25, turning 26 this year. That's 5 years difference. But 5 years difference in today's standards, in today's generations, is a significant leap in generational knowledge in comparison to 5 years, 20 years ago. The rapid
Absolutely. I mean, you're
advancement
100%
of,
right.
yes. And I think that's why it's so crazy, because think about the amount of movies that came out 20 years ago, and like access to YouTube or all those things. Accessible media was what was showing at the cinema, versus now where it's multiple streaming platforms, different from country to country even. YouTube, people next to you could be making internet entertainment content. So that just is, I think, a big platform for. I completely get why.
You see, I just think of my 18-year-old. My 18-year-old definitely has seen Toy Story, but he's also seen 2, 3, and 4. Not that they're that good. He definitely has seen Shrek as well. Anyone here not see Toy Story? To me, that's a rite of passage. But you are 100% right, Georgia. I think, first of all, we see how generations are getting shorter. The period that a generation lasts is being reduced. I mean, if you think of how many years the baby boomers were, and about what 40 or 30 odd years for the Gen Xers, and then the millennials became about 20 years, less than 20 years, and then the Gen Zs, and now with Gen Alpha. I mean, it's now 10 years or less. And I think it's just, you are right. I can't guess. I can't guess. No, no, man. No, no. Are you serious? Oh, gosh. So they're making another. Oh my gosh, they're making another Toy Story. No, man. Oh no, they're destroying something really good. Oh my goodness me. Can I also just say we have a cat called Lily, and her nickname is Lily Pad. And I'm being 100% honest. Lily is Lily Pad, spelt the same way. Well, now she's evil. Oh my gosh, my brain is about to explode. My brain is seriously taking a knock today. So, in terms of the different approaches to leadership, upper echelons theory, and you'll remember this from last semester, this is where everything is vested in that one great, powerful leader. And the reality is that was who I think we know Steve Jobs was. Upper echelons theory, certainly, when we think of Jeff Bezos, fits perfectly into that kind of definition. The same with Bill Gates, the same with Mark Zuckerberg, where this all powerful leader seemed to be the reason why an organization exists. I think this person has an influence on every facet of the organization. Certainly, Steve Jobs did have a significant impact on Apple. And it's interesting. What new things has Apple brought us in the last couple of years after Jobs' death? What new things has Apple brought us? Obviously, we know that where's this gone? Apple Vision, isn't it Pro? Other than that, what new things, and the watch and Apple Watch? I forgot about that. And Apple Watch. Who owns a Vision Pro? You obviously must have it. What's it, 250K? What is Apple Plus, Neil? Okay. Is the Vision Pro not launched in South Africa yet? Oh, okay. Oh, okay. App Plus, the streaming service. So there've been a couple who could see themselves own a Vision Pro. Georgia, have you got one?
No, guys, sorry to disappoint you. I had to choose between Apple Plus and a Labubu.
Apple Plus and food. I think that might be the real choice. Okay. Guys, and then just, I'm not going to make us do that. If we then look at innovation leadership, I think there are a couple of characteristics. But headache. Well, I mean, I can't even have a VR set on because I get nauseous as heck, man. I'm not sure that I could. Oh, is it not entirely wireless? But apparently, every single basketball player is seen walking around with those and getting on planes with those. So I can't imagine myself there yet, guys. So, in terms of innovation leadership, there are a couple of qualities that we expect from leaders. I think the first one, bright, alert, and intelligent. I think these individuals are very aware of the environment, very quick to react to the environment. These are also individuals that will take the lead. They will not wait for someone else to take charge. And I think they are very skillful. Now, and that's quite interesting in terms of Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs wasn't a skillful coder. I mean, Steve Jobs had the ability to surround himself with highly competent, highly skilled within specific task domain individuals. But he wasn't going to code his himself out of a cardboard box. But remember, he had Steve Wozniak, and then the idea of administratively and socially competent. Steve Jobs wasn't very competent socially. I think he was a bit of a as yeah. I've got to be very careful. I've already sworn once today, but when asked what he thought about Steve Jobs, Bill Gates said, first of all, he was a wizard and like a wizard in Apple. He also said Steve is a complete asshole. He says he has no skills. And I read a heck of an interesting interview with Bill Gates on Steve Jobs, and the two didn't really like each other very much. But he called him that a-hole, and he said, however, this guy is a wizard. He was a wizard within Apple, guys. And then again, energetic, active, resilient. I think in terms of resilience, remember Steve Jobs. That's absolutely 100% right, Neil. I also think in terms of resilience, this is a guy that got fired from that got fired from Apple, the company he created. And then obviously, when he got rehired, I mean, he went after his enemies. And the truth is, while being away from Apple, he created Pixar, he created Next, and most of the software that Apple was using in its mobile devices came from Next. This guy was brilliant, and they were good communicators. And again, I think Steve Jobs had these moments in terms of communication. But working in Apple when he came back was quite scary. In terms of the other bits and pieces, I think leaders have a couple of roles. The first one is creating an innovation policy. Why does the term innovation policy, on the face of it, look like an oxymoron? Why does the notion of an innovation policy suggest a contradiction in terms? An oxymoron. Why does that term suggest that this is anomalous, that this is a contradiction? That's exactly it. Because for me, the moment you say, Georgia Jade, that's absolutely 100% as well. The moment you say policy, for me, it means constraint. And you have innovation, which is this idea of being creative, of thinking with your right brain, of being out there. I find it quite a strange one, because policy constraints where innovation is the opposite of constraint. It is freedom. It is the ability to do magic. Why would this textbook have the term in here, though? Because for me, it's a contradiction. I think the reality is that what the policy component gives us would be those opportunities to reward people that are innovative, that come up with new ideas. If we think of a policy that works, it is Google and their 20% rule, where if you're a technical person at Google, 20% of your life you can create your own magic. And I think we've discussed that before. And the 20% rule is a policy. But you have to be very careful that the thing that you emphasize in that contradiction is not the policy component. It is a policy that drives freedom. And for me, it's an oxymoron. Um, the second one is this idea of teams who look, think, have different skills. So not homogeneous, heterogeneous teams, the idea of different team members who have a range of skills. Again, when we go back to the Bellman team roles, my goodness me, it is a wonderfully powerful way of creating the ideal team. 100% Ipaleng, 100%. But the problem with that is if you did have a policy and this guy who wasn't in marketing, and it's a valid point, and this person who wasn't in marketing came up with the please call me idea, he would have walked across the road to MTN and said, I've got an idea for you. Have you ever thought of please call me? So it could also have limited the chances of the billions that they've raised as a consequence of that idea. Guys, and then just a team climate. And for me, the most important thing in terms of the team climate is that we give you freedom to take risks. We are not trying to cramp your style. We want you to make mistakes as long as you learn from those mistakes. And mistakes will be made when you are innovative. And then just the last one, I think part of that it is making sure that we give people the space and the freedom to create magic. And then also, I think you you want idea creation, but you don't want it to run forever because then it just becomes a pipe dream. And then lastly is this idea that you have got team leaders that can engage, interact with, and look at whether these innovative suggestions are feasible without cramping the style of anyone. I think the reality is that we have wonderfully innovative organizations, but we also have old and stale organizations in South Africa. And my worry is that you end up in a stale organization. I won't discuss anything more. Any questions, any comments? Why is everyone so quiet tonight? I will have your marking done tomorrow, so don't worry about that.